Hey, welcome back to my channel, guys. Today's video is a crochet video. It is a guide to working through my Racerback tank top pattern. It's the tank top that I'm wearing right here. The top that I'm wearing was made out of cotton, but you could also make this out of acrylic or wool. It makes it a very versatile pattern. It is made with a 6.5 millimeter crochet hook and a medium weight yarn. The pattern is great for a range of sizes, and in this video I'm also going to walk you through how you can make some slight adjustments if none of the sizing in the pattern work for you. This one is the full length one, and then we'll also walk you through how to do a little cropped version with a tie at the front. So obviously you're going to need the pattern. You can grab it from my website or my Etsy shop. I will link both in the description below. And yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. Things you will need: yarn. I use 2 balls of We Are Knitters cotton. You can use 6 or 6.5 millimeter crochet hooks. You're going to need some stitch counters, a yarn needle for sewing in ends, and some scissors. For gauge, you want to match your gauge as close as possible. Here I'm just showing you 2 swatches, on the left with a 6.5 millimeter crochet hook and on the right with a 6 millimeter crochet hook, so you can see the slight difference when you change your needle size, or hook size, sorry. So once you pick which size you're going to make, you're going to want to just chain the appropriate amount of stitches that the pattern says to for that size. The last 2 stitches in this chain are part of a turning chain, so basically they aren't part of the length, they're going to be counted as a half double crochet stitch. So you're going to want to half double crochet into the 3rd chain from the hook, and then start working down the rest of the row like that. So like I said, the last 2 chains in that starting chain are going to kind of count as a half double crochet stitch at the start of the row. And when you get to the end of each row, you're going to chain 2 again before you turn. And again, that just helps you get into the right place that you want to be for your half double crochet stitches. So the top builds its shape by working increases into each row. Some rows it'll be at the front of the row and back of the row, and some just at the start of the row. So here you're going to want to work 2 half double crochets into the first stitch, and then you're going to work down the rest of the row, and you're going to stop before you work into the very last stitch. So this row we're doing an increase at the beginning of the row and at the end of the row. So once you've stopped, right before you get to your last stitch there, and then you're gonna do 2 half double crochets into the last stitch, and that creates another increase there. So this row is a 2-stitch increase. And then you just chain 2 for your turning chain, like I said before. Once you finish making your front and your back piece, this is a really great time to recheck your gauge and make sure that you're on the right track. This pattern is made with a pretty loose gauge, so you've got a little bit of give and leeway here, but just make sure you're not making it too big or too small. You'll also be able to get an idea of how big it will be around once it's connected. We're going to start connecting the back and the front by working 1 more row into your back piece. We're going to repeat the row that we did before, so just 1 increase in the front of the row and 1 increase at the end of the row. Increase, I don't know why I said crease. So once you do your 2 half double crochets in the last stitch, you're going to want to chain 3. This number can be adjusted if you want to adjust sizing. And then you're going to take your front piece and you want to work into the last stitch that you worked on there. So your tail end should be towards your right hand. This will make sure that the kind of rib lining on here matches up. Then you're going to want to do 2 half double crochets into this as well. And then you're going to work the rest of the row up to the last stitch and do another increase there. Then once you've done the 2 half double crochets at the end of that row, you're going to want to chain 3 again, match it up to the other side that you attached, and then just slip stitch into that starting chain to finish that round. Okay, now that your front and back are attached, you're going to want to add some length. I usually just run out this ball of yarn that I'm using and then I attach the sleeves. So you're going to want to chain 2 and then turn your work again. You want to make sure that you're turning your work so that the texture of your shirt stays the same. If you work in the round, you won't get those little ridges. So then you're going to want to half double crochet into this chain that you made when you were attaching the front and the back, and then just continue to work in the round in half double crochets. So when you get to the end, every time that you're connecting the row, to make sure you keep the same number of stitches, you're just going to slip stitch into that starting chain and turn again. So you're going to want to work into the stitch directly to the left of that starting chain. And then when you get to the end of the row, you're not going to work into that last stitch again. Like, see where the thing is coming out of? The chain is coming out of. And then slip stitch into the top again. When you're counting stitches in the row, make sure that you're counting that. So because I ran out my last ball adding length, I'm going to start with a new ball here. And we're going to do 2 rows here to make this edging. So with your piece facing you, you're going to want to find that seam where you turned your work and insert your hook near the edge here, single crochet stitch, and then you're going to want to work in single crochet all the way around the outside edge of your work. I don't really count how many stitches I'm doing here or worry about it too much, as long as it's not bunching together. If it's bunching, then you made your stitches too far apart. So then when you get to the end of the row, you're just going to want to slip stitch into that first stitch. Sorry, you can't see anything here. My camera was kind of off. So now you're going to want to work into the back loop only. And again, you're going to start working around. You can see a little better here. You're just going to work your way up until you get to the first corner. And that'll be kind of the front top corner of your work, which is where the strap is going to come off of. So once you work into this corner stitch here, you're going to want to chain 25 or however many you want to chain to make the strap the length that you want to make it. You can use a measuring tape to decide a different length of straps. Sometimes what I like to do is tie a string in the front and the back, kind of like a fake strap, and try it on and see how long I want it, and then just make it that length. But otherwise, just do 25 stitches. And then you're going to want to work back down into the back corner here, the top corner and the back side. Make sure that you're not crisscrossing sides. So this should complete like a full loop for an armhole. Continue working in the back stitch only until you get to the first stitch of this row again, where you're going to slip stitch and finish the row. Then you can pull out your working yard tail and cut it. So to make the strap on the other side, you're going to complete the exact same process. You're just going to be working in the other direction because you still want to be working on the right side of your work. So you're going to work up the back first this time. Again, just working in the back loop only so that it matches the other side. And you're just going to work up into the top corner in the back. You'll want to chain the exact same amount as you did for the other side and then come back down the front. So then to finish off your neck hole here, you're going to insert your hook somewhere into the middle back of the neckline. If you have 7 stitches, put it right in the middle. If you have 6 or 8 or whatever, just pick one. Again, working in back loop only, you're going to work just all the way around in this circle. You're going to do a single crochet in each stitch, single crochet across both of the chains that made the strap. This just makes the straps a little bit stronger and less stretchy. Work across the front, across the other chain, back to where you started. When you get to the end, you're going to slip stitch again, as you did on both of the sides. And then you're just going to pull out your working yarn and snip it. So you'll have to sew these little tails that you left when you cut the yarn. You can sew them in now or sew them in later. But we're just going to complete the bottom edge now. This is just going to be a classic clean edge once your shirt is at its desired length. A little trick I like to do is move down a hook size on the last few rows because it just makes it like a little bit tighter. So you're gonna, for the last row, make sure that you're working on the outside of your work so that your work's not inside out. And then you're just going to, similarly to what you did on the upper part of the shirt, you're just going to want to work a single crochet stitch into each stitch around the outside. And that's it. If your work is inside out here, then you won't really get the same effect because you kind of want that little ridge to show there. When you get to the end, slip stitch as same as before. Just pull your end out, snip it, and then you're gonna just want to sew those ends in. You can see here how it's just like a little bit cleaner and tighter around the bottom because I use that smaller hook. So this is how you're going to finish your top with a front tie. So once it's at the desired length, you're going to want to find the center front stitch. If you have an even number of stitches, that might be 2 stitches, that's fine. You're going to count 3 out from the center and mark that stitch as well. So you'll have 7 or 8 stitches there in the middle. And then you're going to want to turn your work upside down so that when you're working on the outside of your work. You're going to chain 15. You're going to want to insert your hook into the stitch directly to the left of the stitch marker. The marked stitch won't be worked into. So you're going to do a half double crochet stitch in there just to attach your chain, and then you're just going to work all the way around in half double crochet right up to the next marked stitch. So again, don't work into the marked stitches. just the ones right on the outside of them. And then once you've worked up to the stitch before the marked stitch, you're going to chain 16. So 15, just like before, plus 1 is going to be a turning chain. Once you've done those 16 stitches, you're going to want to do a single crochet in the second chain from the hook, so that you're doing 15 single crochets back down that chain. Again, the top one was a turning chain. So once you've worked down that chain, you're going to work across that open space. So into the marked stitch and then across the front center there. We're working in single crochet stitches still. You can take out the stitch markers if you want to, if they're in the way. You don't really need them anymore. And then once you get across there, you're going to work up the other chain. So these chains, I'm sure you can tell, these are going to be the ties. So you'll just work up, still in single crochet stitches, you'll work up one side of that chain. When you get to the top of the chain, you're going to work 3 stitches into the last chain. This is going to help you kind of turn your work or rotate your work. You don't want to flip it, which is what usually turning means. You're just going to kind of work around that little corner so that then you can single crochet back down the other side of that chain. And you're still working, all of your work is on the outside of the shirt. Your shirt shouldn't be inside out at all right now. So you're just gonna work down. You can kind of see the tie forming a little better here. And continue around the bottom in single crochet stitches until you get up to the end of the other tie. Okay, once you reach the top of this other tie again here, you're gonna do the same as before and just work 3 stitches into the very top stitch to help you kind of turn around this corner. If you don't do this, it's fine. Your tie will just kind of bunch up a little more at the top. It won't be as round. It'll kind of have a point. So then just continue to single crochet down the other side. It's pretty simple. You're kind of just going around. And you're just going to work across and then back up to the top of the other tie. So at that point, both of your ties should be even. They'll both be like 3 rows around the starting chain. If you want to make your ties thicker or your bottom longer here at this point, you could do another lap around. That'll make them 5 rows around. But this is where I finish. So pull your end out and yeah, sew your ends in. Here, because I started and ended in the same place, I kind of cheat. I just sew this end in here, kind of get it through the back a little bit, and then I just triple knot these guys together and snip them. And there you go. Now you have little ties at the front. Cute. So a few of the really simple ways that you can adjust the sizing of this pattern, lengthwise, would be just to continue working down until it is at the desired length. You can also lengthen up the straps just by adding extra stitches to your chain when you're making your straps. If you are wanting to make your top smaller than the smallest size in the pattern, then you're going to want to decrease in certain areas. A very important part of this pattern is making sure that the front is wide enough to cover your chest. So if you're going to be making the pattern smaller, then the best place to decrease is here, where we've attached the front and the back piece. Don't chain anything in between there. You can also not work as many rows down before the attachment. That will make those rows smaller, and then this will close up more. Or you should take rows out from the back before you attach the front and the back sides. If you want to make your top larger than any of the sizes, or you want to tweak it larger a little bit, a few great places to do that is, again, where you're attaching the front and the back. You can just add a few extra chains. Take into account the fact that you're adding it to both sides. So if 3 stitches equals an inch, then just do 2 on each side. That'll be 4. That's about an inch of added width. Or another great place is in this mid section where you are only doing an increase at the front of each row instead of an increase at the front and the back. So when you're only doing 1 increase instead of 2, just continue to do 2 increases in that area, and that will add more width to the piece as well. Another option is just also continuing this part longer. The more rows you do with increases, the wider that your top is going to get. Okay, that's it. Thanks for checking out my video. I hope you guys were able to get through your top, and I hope this was helpful for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.